How many times have you? This is your how many times?
Fifth
time.
Yeah, but I never for podcast. Always for my fintech company.
Of course, yeah.
Are you in India?
We are.
Yeah.
We have. I think it's between 10 and 15. I think it's 14 people now. If we count the new people that are joining or joined.
And which city?
Mostly Bengaluru and few close to Mumbai.
I'm from Bengaluru.
Oh, are you based there or you are
Partly based there.
Where is the other part?
Mumbai and Goa.
Okay.
What do you think the opportunity is? What can one build in voice that can be a big profitable business tomorrow? You're based out of which city now, Matty?
From London.
Right, from London. Do you know Carl, the nothing guy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We're investors of his.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I'm a tiny investor too.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's so hard to innovate in hardware, and Carl is one of the very few that is actually doing both innovating and got to a good scale, which is so hard. Yeah. And I think he's like thinking around design and how there will be a combination of AI native devices and maybe they all take slightly different forms. Yeah. I think there's a great chance for nothing. What do you think?
So we engaged recently, actually. We got on their cap table. I like Carl a lot. I feel like it's a new guy who's trying something new. The sales look great. I think they went from 500 mil last year to about 900 mil this year. But it's such a tough space, right? Hardware?
So tough. But it's, I'm also excited, maybe that's a little bit biased, but he can lead with voice in many ways.
Yeah.
The Nothing headphones, I think, are great.
Yeah.
And they are actually one of the first ones to start integrating like AI-assisted part of the experience. So you could speak with the headphones, you could personalize music.
That's not out yet, right?
They're testing few things in alpha, but if they move quickly, I think this could be like the first truly AI native device that's kind of with you, around you. Yeah. And I mean, that opens so many opportunities. I'm frequently speaking with Carl of how, like, in the ideal future, you could potentially speak any language and it automatically gets real-time translated to any other language around you, so we can communicate and travel around, break down the language barriers. But the main part that's going to be blocking it's going to be the hardware, or like what's the device to make this possible, even if the technology exists. And if Carl does well with Nothing could be the device that actually makes and breaks that, where everybody can have that device.
I hope it is. Like, after this, I'm actually going to London. I'm going to see Carl. Their design studio is there. I'd seen the earbuds, the previous version. But if it's able to translate without a latency issue, and if it's able to, you know that device you wear like a pendant, what is it called?
The one that they folded, there's like a few, but there was the Humane, I think, but that doesn't. I think this was acquired. But there's like retranscribe or something like that. The one that like takes notes and summarizes afterwards. Yeah.
If the EarPod could do all of that, like his earbuds, if they do that, they translate, they do a bunch of other things. The thing Nothing also has going for it, I think, is it's cool because a young person runs the company. So hopefully they do well.
And they are trying some different things. I would like the pendant. This is maybe slightly off topic, but frequently, I mean, as a company now, we will attend a lot of events. We'll have a lot of people in those events. And of course, after the events, we are now trying to figure out how to take a lot of the follow-ups, action points. So we created a little voice agent that you can speak with and capture out of the feedback. So that already kind of helped shorten the loop, so you don't have to manually input everything after the meeting. You can speak with the voice agent. But the ideal version, assuming people opt in, and this is the kind of safe environment, would be to have a pendant. You go to a meeting, everybody knows that the notes will be transcribed, and then you can engage in those events, in the conversations, and then straight after, at the end of the day, you get like what happened, what are the follow-ups. We are working with now one startup that I hope will do it in a good way, where we could deploy it in our next summit, where everybody across the team could, of course, with the knowledge of the participants, take the notes, not need to worry about all the notes afterwards. I think how amazing would that be?
Yeah. What is it called? The startup?
I don't know if I can say their name yet, because they are in a stealth mode and they want to announce it, and we are trying to figure out a partnership. But there are like a few companies. The form factor does matter. Like, you don't want the pendant to be too big. You want it, of course, to have a pretty good support. Of course, battery and it like feels like it should exist.
Yeah. Everyone I speak to in AI, and I've interviewed a bunch of them, largely in the Valley, it's refreshing that you're in a different region. They all say voice could be next. Voice is likely next. Voice is a natural way to communicate that we are accustomed to. But nobody seems to have cracked it yet. Do you think the medium of interacting with tech will move from hardware, which does feel unnatural to hold a thing in your hand and like type into it with your fingers? How does that transition from that kind of hardware to voice happen?
Yeah, as we think about the future, 100% voice will be a big interface and big way of how we interact with the technology around us. That's we think about 11 Labs' mission. It's to transform how we interact with technology around holistically, and whether that's calling into customer support, whether that's how you will learn at school and how you'll deliver education, all the way through to how you interact with the robots or devices around you in the future. And to your last part, like, I think the most exciting part of that is like, could you have the technology kind of fold into the background, the phone goes back into the pocket, and you kind of immerse yourself in the world around you. So I think there's to make this possible, there's at least 3 things that need to happen. One is, of course, the foundational technology and research. It needs to get to the level where you feel like you're interacting with a voice at the level of a human. It's you can interrupt it. It has the right emotions, intonation. It's quick. It has the high intelligence, and I think the current model is good for set of use cases. It's not yet like a full human level. So that's the kind of the first component that needs to change that needs to be true. Otherwise, people will not want to have voice agents everywhere around you. Like you have Jarvis and Iron Man and this kind of level of quality. That's ideally where you kind of get to, where it's both great voice and kind of gets all the knowledge and gets all the combination. So that's the first thing. So the voice quality and interaction needs to be great. Second, and that goes a little bit to the challenges of deploying that in different settings, is it's of course important that the voice is good, but it's also important that it has the knowledge access. And as we think about the development in the future, as we think about our role in that development, increasingly there's an important combination of allowing customers, allowing users to bring that knowledge in an easy way, whether that's the integrations with their systems, whether that's figuring out how you can deploy the voice agent and WhatsApp and different devices that customers or people will interact with. But ultimately, how do you bring all the knowledge ahead? How do you have the memory of things that happened in the past? Whether that's what you are interested in, what you know. If you are a business customer, taking the CRM data and pulling that in so you have all that information. So that'll be my second one. So that's the second. And third one, which we kind of started the conversation from, is the form factor, which I don't think has been figured out. Now we have all the components for voice agent to be there and understand you. How do you deploy it? My take is, it's frequently the conversation is it glasses, is it phone, is it headphones? And it's probably the kind of the least interesting one, but I think it will be a combination of the form factors. Some people will definitely prefer glasses. Some people will prefer the headphones. In the future, maybe Neuralink is version of that part where you kind of start and you always have voice agent available to you. I'm excited for the headphones, but not the headphones that are in ear, but effectively the ones that are behind the ear.
Right.
Where you still get the same voice experience. And now there's a set of innovations to try to effectively detect without you actually saying the spoken word, detecting your mouth movements. So you could theoretically imagine speaking with the voice agent without vocalizing it out loud and having that support. So like if I were, like as a user, so from personal perspective, I would be most likely to adopt the headphones in the future. And then I do think it most likely will be the most natural form factor, given it's already one of the key devices. And that kind of shifts that interface,
So you would say headphones with a phone in your pocket.
Yes.
A combination of the two.
And probably a SAM, because you also need the capture of the information. That's where that kind of the knowledge part will start coming in. I do think there will be some version of a pendant or a wristband that you will carry to just
Can't
capture
the
more.
headphones do that?
They could, but then you have limited set of information. Like you don't have the same. Like say over time you will want something about the movement or something about how you capture a different perspective. And I think that's where that will be viable.
Can you wager a guess on what Johnny Ive and Sam are building in terms of device?
I heard few guesses. I would love to ask you the same question. What's your guess?
I asked Sam actually.
What did he say?
He didn't say.
Okay. Yeah, my guess would be. I don't know. If you were maybe if you were guessing from what you know, what's your guess?
On Sam and Johnny Ive?
Yes.
I feel like for revenue and to really scale, because human behavior is so accustomed to using a device in your hand, I think that's where scale lies initially. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a phone-looking device with a UI which is not natively Android or anything that already exists, but something which is a lot more different with a partner, with a buddy device maybe, which is like a pendant or something like that. Because they don't have a hardware play. I feel like for AI, at some point it'll become relevant that hardware comes pre-installed and with the software which is AI first. And to be in hardware for all of these AI companies will become increasingly relevant. Hence, actually, the nothing bet, because I always thought an AI company will come in and buy them out at some point.
They can still. It's still possible. It feels, but in general, like I think OpenAI has a good path to building like a personal assistant that's next to you. So it will need to be some device that you carry, of course, every day.
Yeah.
I do think voice will be a big part for that strategy as well. From what I see and hear, they will be ramping out the voice efforts. So that will be good competition for us to see whether our quality keeps ahead as it does today. So that will be a good test.
It must worry you, right? Like I always wonder about OpenAI. All these people use the backbone of OpenAI and they build something. And then given enough time, OpenAI sees it and then they want to build the same thing themselves. They seem to have done that in a couple of places. When I talk to friends of mine in the agentic layer of AI or people who have built great applications on top of a model, they all seem to be scared of what happens to these large language models when they come after the end product. Are you worried about that?
Like in our case, we are of course continuously looking what like OpenAI, Google, incredible teams, and probably like as we think about the space, the biggest potentials of effectively competing with 11 Labs. As you think about the company, and I only started it in 2022, like the approach from the beginning was doing both the research and the product. So doing the foundational model work for audio and then building product around it. And we think both are important and like would define the company where we today, of course, don't depend on OpenAI for voice and we can stay ahead and build models that are both great in English, great internationally, great across India languages, great across European languages. And that's both for generating speech with text to speech, understanding speech with speech to text. And that's important. I think like over the next 2-3 years, there's still so much you can do in voice. And like we spoke about how you make it more fluid and interactive, I think that still can be cracked in a better way. So of course worries us whether we continue being ahead, but it's also a good motivation. We have my co-founder is one of the smartest people. He's been able to assemble an incredible research team, and they keep crushing it. So I think they will continue proving that we can be ahead. But then 100%, we cannot just rely on research. We need to have more both defense points, but also how we deliver value effectively to get customers. So it's kind of independent of the research work. And here, from our perspective, we have kind of two main things. One is we have a creative platform offering and then an agents platform offering. Creative platform is helping with narrations, voiceovers, localization from individuals, so from creators, podcasters, news articles, through to some media entertainment companies like Star. And then on agents, we help automate voice agents in customer experience, training, education. So Misha would be a great example.
Can you describe to us what 11 Labs does overall, like in a simplified manner that anybody could understand?
We built foundational audio AI technology. So we built models to make speech sound incredible and speech be understood. And then we built products on top of that research that help you create voice agents that can elevate your customer experience, that can elevate and train people internally or externally. And then we help on the creative side with customers and how they can communicate with their user base.
So 50% of your business is creator and 50% is enterprise in a way?
That's right.
And say I'm a creator. How do I use 11 Labs?
Let's take this podcast as an example.
Yeah.
After we finalize our conversation, something might have not been recorded. You want to add a line. You can post-process that with 11 Labs. Make sure that we effectively recreate my voice. We smoothen that line out. That's the first simple part. Then let's take a second step. You want to take this podcast and you want to localize it outside of English. You want to bring it to Spanish or French or Hindi. And here you go to our interface and you can both automatically dub the entire podcast and then go through any corrections that you need. So when we did a podcast between Lex Friedman and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that was effectively you going through that workflow.
Did you dub that?
Yeah. And that was like going through the human on the loop, making sure the corrections are there. And that was like both like a very long conversation, incredible test of the software. But then you can enjoy that in a number of other languages.
How much does it cost? Say, for example, how much did Lex and our Prime Minister, how much did it cost to dub?
This one was harder. In general, like if you just wanted to automatically dub, then like an hour podcast will be few dollars, up to few dollars. But with any conversation like the one with the Prime Minister, we did employ a wider set of people that would actually check every translation, mostly with working with the Lex team and the other side of the team to make sure that the content is preserved. Like we it's like the caliber of the conversation with every word matters. So that was like maybe a more unique on that side.
Like we have this use case. We want to dub all the content we make into like regional languages, but we've been struggling with solutions really. More than the cost of it, I feel like the emotion behind what is being said is always lost and everything sounds a bit robotic. How do you change that? I've not tried 11 Labs. Then
perfect. It's like almost a cue to show you. No, I think that's like one of the big parts that I think we now can bring to the equation that was lost. Like how do you both preserve the voice, preserve intonation, preserve emotion, and the way we do it today is we of course detect your speech. We then detect the speakers. We translate it, but then the moment we generate the speech, it actually captures the contextual information from the previous response, and tries to recreate that in the new target language. Like effectively, our model the way we created that for the localization use case has been trying to match pairs of languages that we have, and how would you deliver that in a professional setting, and how you can reapply that in the automatic dub. So I think it works really well. The hard things is like, of course, when you have like amplitude of emotions, like laughter, scream, and you then shift the ordering of the sentence, then it's hard.
Like, say for example, Matty is smiling while you're saying a certain thing. Matty is the right way to say it?
Yeah.
When you smile when you say a certain thing in English, isn't it hard to take that emotion into Hindi, for example?
It's not easy, 100%. And then there's like kind of two, like there's the present and the future. In the current way, you would still translate it. You would, of course, dub it. I think you can preserve the emotion, but of course, my movement of my lips when I smile depending on the language structure, it might be in a different part of the sentence. So like maybe an easy example is German. From English to German usually will have noun at the end. So like, yes, that will exactly happen. You will like smile at a different part than the conversation. You can do some tricks to try to still smoothen it out. But yes, there will be some discrepancy. So that's in present can still work. In the future, and there are some limitations of the current delivery softwares, you'll likely do lip animation too, or lip reanimation to move the lips tiny bit to apply to where you would smile in that part of the sentence. So I think that will happen 100%. I hope this happens this year.
Is that something you would do?
We would want to do it. I think like as we think about anything that can amplify the audio experience, we want to bring that into our flow. So on that creative side, like today, if you were to localize, hopefully in the next few months, you will be able to animate lips straight away as well.
Could a tiny company be built just around this? Just around changing how the lip moves when something is being dubbed?
It could. There's actually a good set of companies that are like crashing it and going very quickly.
Right.
Of course, I think this is an entry point, not the end point. They will likely try to add more of that functionality, but 100%. It's like, and the of course, now we speak about the static part, but the moment you start moving into the real-time part, those tiny companies now can be huge companies. And that's kind of like, we spoke about the creative side. If you think about the agent side, and I think there are some use cases here for both the lip animation and even for you. I have one idea for you. So we spoke about the creative side. On the agent side, effectively, what we do is allow you to create a voice experience, bring any knowledge that you want inside of that experience, and then deploy that in different settings, while monitoring, evaluating how it performs. I don't know if you're familiar with Masterclass.
Yeah.
So Masterclass works with us where they would recreate and work with people like Gordon Ramsay to create AI Gordon Ramsay to teaches you how to cook while you cook. The top FBI negotiator, Chris Voss, is part of the ecosystem. You can negotiate and learn negotiating by negotiating with Chris Voss. So you could do your masterclass based on a lot of your existing content, existing work that you already did and spoken about, wrote about, and actually create a Nikhil that you can speak with and learn about bootstrapping a $3 billion company and how to achieve that kind of impact and scale and break.
And where would that agent sit? How would somebody find him?
We work with all types of customers. But if you are an individual, you probably would start your own company. Like we actually have 500 companies that build voice agent variations just in India, and then now I think over 10,000 across the world. That usually they would create their own website or website delivery. But the most common now that's kind of shifting is you have a phone number that you call and then the voice agent answers. So,
do you think there's a market for that? If there's an agentic version of myself, which has learned from everything I have ever said, all the stupid things, and it speaks like me, do you think somebody will seek it out to interact with it?
I think so quick answer is yes. I don't think it's, like it replaces the experience, but there's there's like, how do you go deeply into the subject that interests you? And that's what your agent would allow. Like, I have few questions. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. You have that kind of wider set of knowledge that you delivered over the years. How do you deliver that efficiently? You can grab to the specific parts that I'm interested in, and I think that would be valuable. But then, of course, at some point, there's like, okay, now I actually want to speak with the real person to go deeper, because that wasn't in a knowledge base, or it wasn't something that I could ask about. So I think it kind of shifts the part of the conversation, but not the entirety of the conversation. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but on the business side, we one of the like many startups mention this use case. I don't think it's like fully AI automatable, but AI SDR version of like learning about the product, learning about the use case, learning about the company. And we've seen this play out in a few cases where here too, the best way to deploy AI SDRs is more as an augmentation of the flow, where you can, let's say you have a website, you want to capture the sales leads. The sales leads come through. They usually will leave their details in the form. And now, instead of replacing the whole experience, you can add effectively a voice agent saying, hey, do you want to accelerate your application by speaking with a voice agent? And then you can go ahead and click through. And then you are more willing. So we've done exactly that flow for 11 Labs. And then what you notice is that both it improves the number of people that are keen to leave things in a form, but second, they actually leave a lot more details. And then the moment they go to the next conversation, they know much more about the product. They are more ready. We can go after and with those customers much quicker. So similarly, as you think about your kind of delivery of knowledge, I do think this would both make people more excited about learning and going deeper. But then the second time you have the conversation, I think the quality of questions will be better. We actually did it with a company in India called TVS Motor.
Yeah.
And they've done exactly that flow. And it improved both sides. It improved the customer satisfaction and improved the sales lead qualification. So it's like both sides were happy.
Right. We were doing a bit of research on the market size of voice overall. The dubbing is a small market, right? It said less than 1 billion going up to 3 billion in the next decade.
Dubbing it's like the interactive use case is the biggest market. I mean,
Right.
that's everywhere from media education through
So
the enterprise.
that could be a really big market in the next 5 years.
I think that will shift everything.
So a lot of the audience that we speak to are young wannabe entrepreneurs. What do you think the opportunity is? What can one build in voice that can be a big, profitable business tomorrow?
From my perspective, the most clear entry point is combining a domain expertise in one of the domains that you know well or you want to know well and learn quickly. And it can be a domain where there's like no innovation, and these are like almost the best ones.
Can you give me an example?
Automotive industry, healthcare. I mean, it's like truly, I think it's like the more traditional domain, the likely more lagging it is with the innovation. Where we are seeing already entrepreneurs building for automotive industry of use cases. But effectively here, whether it's how it's like from the simple use case of how you innovate on customer experience to like, what does the in-car experience look like in the future? So much opportunity to figure out how do you deliver the right knowledge, how do you write the right interaction, and how you deploy it.
But can I build a company just around that?
Yes.
So
and it's like,
let's take the example of a car company, say BMW. What do I build that they will pay me enough for that I can have a company in voice?
You would start probably with something that's top of mind and something that is easy to deploy. So here you would start with customer experience side. So just being able to help as people call in, how do they get the best service, understanding everything about BMW in this case, how they understand about how the car works. You spend a lot of time bringing that into the equation. So that's kind of the first layer. Then in-car experience is like pretty open-ended, but how do you create an interactive radio inside of the car that people can interact with across all the time. And here too, you need to figure out what type of languages BMW might be interested in. How do you create the right voices to make sure the users in those regions are excited and happy? What type of experience will BMW actually need? So there's a lot of actually deployment work that would come in. And then as you build all those steps, you need to figure out, okay, if you are to build like a big company, not only how I build it once for BMW, but how I abstract it away to be able to replicate that into the other car companies. So you need to capture some of those knowledge elements back into other car parts. Automotive industry is a good example where I haven't seen as much yet because it's harder with some of the on-device requirements. Like some that already are getting disrupted are e-commerce, healthcare, financial services. Like healthcare is an easy example where you just need so much specific domain knowledge to be able to cater to that. Both the data is very different. So capturing all the medicine names, all the flows that might need to happen for the patients that you interact with to make sure that they get the right experience. That's it's hard. And then you need to go to the hospitals, speak with the hospitals on how to deploy that, whether it's in the operating space or whether it's in the support space outside of the in-hospital operation. So that's the one that's actually already pretty heavily going across. E-commerce, I mean, recently you had IPO of Misho that we work with, incredible company.
What do you do for Misho?
So we help automate their customer experience, customer support. So they have now 60,000 calls coming in to ask about the products, ask about shipping, refund, and handy in English, and we create a voice agent that you can interact with. But a very cool thing with Misho is that now, so the support is there. Like, what's the future of e-commerce? Could you have an AI concierge the moment you go into the website that you open a website, you have a voice agent that tells you about the products available, you tell it what you're looking for, then shows you different products, you decide which ones you are interested in, and then you order that. Like, having an assistant as part of experience would be incredible. So here too, I think in e-commerce, going slightly deeper on what type of e-commerce, similar. I think companies combining the domain knowledge and building quickly the voice agents will be huge.
Actually, you should help us build a agent of our own. Could be fun as a project.
What would be the agent?
We'll feed in all the things we have said up until now and have somebody talk to people who are lonely and just see how the project goes. Just as a fun project. I speak to an AI agent all the time. I think a big use case in the world tomorrow will be to solve for loneliness, for intimacy.
I think voice agent, I agree. I think there will be a big part there. It's going to be a big balance of figuring out how it's not, you kind of help with the virtual side, but kind of try to bring people into the real world too, which will be at an important balance. The most exciting one for me is education. How will the education, could you have a personal tutor across subjects for everyone? I love Richard Feynman. Could I have Richard Feynman teach me physics and kind of both the style of delivery is so cool. He's kind of combining the knowledge and the laughter. And then I have it on. I'm learning maths, and I can ask any question to Richard. That'll be amazing.
What's even more interesting is if I have a device in my ear which negates the need for me to have to regurgitate any kind of information, what happens to education? Then I don't need to learn or remember much of what traditional education needs for me to remember.
Yeah, you're almost I don't know how you would see this, but the way I think back at kind of my education, I rarely use any of the formal backgrounds in mathematics. I almost never use that knowledge. But the most valuable part was kind of learning how to learn. So I hope there's still that component that education brings. And then of course the second part of education, it's going to be almost the opposite of tech, which is how do you learn how to be with other people, how you be social. So like you have like, I feel in the future of education you'll have like percentage of the time which is like fully dedicated to learning with AI and tools, and then percentage of the time where there's like no tech and no technology, just like speaking with other people, being close to them, figuring out that part. The percentage of both will be interesting. Like with AI, can I now be more efficient? So I just need like 20-30% on the former and 70% on the latter, or no, versus like a fully augmented version throughout.
As somebody not in the valley, my day job is an investor. What do you think of? You've raised a lot of money yourself. I think like $300-400 million. Your company is worth a few billions today. What do you think of AI valuations in the valley today? These huge companies with a revenue number that doesn't historically warrant the market cap numbers that they have. Do you feel like there's a bubble brewing there?
And did you say you invest into companies not in Silicon Valley, or you said did you invest in companies in Silicon Valley?
Some in Silicon Valley, but largely companies out of India.
That's what I thought. And first of all, I think that's great. It's like similarly as we think, like it's so cool to see more companies and in India, like we care so much about companies brewing, and I'm from Poland, and in UK, of course. So like as we think about our team today, most of the research engineering is from Europe, and they are like some of the most motivated, passionate people about the space. So like hopefully a lot more of that innovation comes across from Asia, from Europe, internationally for the global companies. I think the valuations in Silicon Valley, like I don't think the bubble is brewing. Mm-hmm. I think there's like what I think is a very different part as I compare it to other cycles. I think there's a clear revenue numbers for a lot of the companies. Mm-hmm. I do, there are some pockets where I'm like a little bit skeptic of like, does it make sense? Not to just like to maybe give a concrete example is all the like GPU providers that are built on top of NVIDIA that like help you get effectively inference capacity. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a little bit skeptic on some evaluations there, but like for a lot of others, it's very clear. It's like high risk, high reward type thing. So I understand the bets, but they are probably higher risk than higher reward. I do think AI is in this trickier space where if you win, you can win in a significant way, in a significant, impactful way. Like you will work with a lot of the customers around the world if you are a good company. So I kind of understand why, like in the early stages of the companies get such a high valuation. I mean, I'm sure you are referring also to a lot of the research companies being formed. Here, it's like almost the way I kind of see it is there's like research is still so incredibly important and will be that that multiple still makes sense. Like you those people, like if they invent one incredible thing, it's already worth it. But I hope companies around the world will get the same valuations soon. And if they build globally, they should.
Yeah. The way I'm looking at it, with all the geopolitical stuff going on, if I were to wager a guess, I would think at some point in the future, we will all live in a more multipolar world where individually countries go down the path of Russia and China, where most large countries have their versions, their own little version of these products which have global reach today. So different countries will have their own social media, they'll have their own voice companies, they'll have their own most interactions with technology, even their own data centers. A country's data, I think, will sit in that country. So I feel like when that happens in the world, these companies which have large scale today, like, take a WhatsApp, which is a chatting service. I don't think it is a unique enough of a product that can't be disrupted, or I will make the switch from a WhatsApp to another chatting service given a very small incentive. I think the reasons for Indians to use WhatsApp might go away when the world becomes more geopolitically confused. And I feel like it's going in that direction.
Don't you think, let's take WhatsApp, there's like a network effect of just so many users already using WhatsApp where it's just convenience of being on the same platform?
I would have thought that, but when I look at what's happening in China and Russia and they have their own versions, it seems to be just fine. And also in a way, when there is evidence of these global tools being weaponized by governments in one way or another, I think the world will be a lot more skeptical in using a product just for the network benefit. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Although I do disagree. I think it's partly disagree. I agree. Data residency, yes, 100% should be in a specific countries. Also agree that like the product shape will like kind of evolve. So like every country will use their own proprietary data to create their variations of the product. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's optimist or like the kind of the value part, but I do think there's like a global component of a lot of infrastructure or software still being international. Like let's take building foundational AI models. I think the kind of the base will be pre-trained by few companies in the world, just given the resources required. There'll be open source, of course, offerings in that bucket. But then probably, must I think about the government space or companies in all of the sectors, they will use those to fine tune it based on their data. And it's still huge advantages, but just not like entirely built independently. On the product, there's a very, interesting that you think, I can see like how creating software is becoming so easy that you could like imagine creating that on the fly everywhere. I just think the network effect of having people in the same place is compounding in many ways. Like almost like as I think about, it's not the same, but in our case we have a voice marketplace in 11 Labs where people create a voice. They can we authenticate it, then we can share it, and then the moment the AI voice is used, you earn money. Now we have 10,000 voices created this way, and we paid back over $11 million, coincidentally, back to that community. And it definitely helps. They have like so much styles, accents, and it's of course you could replicate at scale, but you won't have that same community mechanism of paying back and making sure people can trust that software. So I do think there's some element of trust that is embedded. So maybe network and trust, but I guess what you are saying partly is, with what happens with the geopolitics side, is like the trust element may be broken and you kind of need the alternative for...
It seems to be breaking, right?
I hope it's, it's a temporary glitch, but it's like more like, it's not going down. It's more like sine X times X curve when it's continuing going up and it's just like a little bit of a correction.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a bunch of these people speak over the last week, and even when they walk out of the room, it could be the European leadership or the American leadership, people don't look happy. People look like they're angrier than they were last year, for example, or the year before. Every year, people are progressively angrier, and it seems like they're voicing it for the first time. People walk out and speak in their own languages. Most of it you can't understand, but you can see the expression on their face in a way, I think.
I do think people became more authentic in the like last year too. Yeah. Last year too. Maybe it's like a version of like there's just so much AI content and things that you need to be authentic to like break through that noise of AI. But I feel in less on the politics side or geopolitics side, because I agree that's like that has definitely influenced the emotions. And I'm probably a little bit too much in that bubble of AI and tech, but huge positivity compared to last year or two of like shift from how much of the risk it poses, how much of the risk AI can mean, but increasingly into also how much opportunity AI can give. But of course, it's such a tricky week with geopolitics this week. So
I think no one's contesting that productivity will go up in societies. I think everybody's aligned to that. The only question is, should you be... People with most risk capital will have the best models by virtue of how much money they pump into those models. But if these large model companies are going to cannibalize the end product if you build on top of them, I think for a young entrepreneur, it's important not to be short-sighted and kind of like diversify and hedge what they build on top of. It's not the right analogy, but not end up in a world where an Android or an Apple can charge you 20% fee to live on that platform, but use more open sourced versions and diversify that risk, I think, is important today.
I agree that, like, you know, you need to take a longer term view, and it's like the starting point cannot prevent you from being in that long term. So, you know, if you can accelerate your value delivery by building on any of the platforms, it's fine. But if you think, you know, as an entrepreneur, if you think that any of those platforms might take over your space in the next few years, then you need to be
because these platforms have to make money somewhere tomorrow. I saw OpenAI is experimenting with ads for the first time, but to justify those valuations and to stop burning money, they have to make money.
They do. It's like almost like Google will have so much advantage by potentially running longer with all the infrastructure and not doing ads in the same way.
Yeah.
So will be I'd say it will be an interesting one. But I like, you know, like I see companies built on top of LLMs, voice, visual. I think that the main combination, like if you know domain extremely well, then the AI model is, you know, gives you a good starting point, but then integrations with the system, the legacy systems of how you deliver that, telephony, how you bring the knowledge, that will take so much time. Then like building the trust with evaluations, monitoring, that will take a lot of time. So I think there's like so much opportunity for entrepreneurs to just take any of those models, go deeply into the domain and combine both, best of both.
We've been flirting with the idea of building a social media platform in India. How do you think...
On top of Zerodha or separately?
Separately. Zerodha is more like fintech, asset management, broking.
But you could do lending. Like a super app effectively. Yes, you know, it's
You know, super apps have never worked in India. A lot of people have tried it. Actually, outside of China, they've not worked anywhere, right? Really?
Yeah. I'd say I'm wondering whether in...
do you think that has something to do with...
You know, I have an example where it did work, which is like an interesting one. In Ukraine, they have a super app, which I think is brilliant. Also, we have a pleasure of working with their government, and where they are trying to create the first agentic government. But they have a DIA app. It's effectively a citizen support app where you can ask about the benefits programs, employment program, the different things that are happening in India. And that's how it started. So like effectively an app that every citizen can have. Of course, the passport information, the visa information, etc., that you can travel and ID yourself with. But then they have multiple ministries and the way they operate. So they have multiple ministries where you have tech resources embedded in those ministries. So foreign affairs will have a few engineers working there. Internal affairs will have that. Education and ministry will have that. And now those people try to figure out how to automate part of the government work and then bring it back to the digital transformation ministry, which is responsible for the citizen support app. And now what has started happening is that it started effectively adding modules across the entire government. So now you can have healthcare information. Now you can have education where you have personalized content for you based on things that you know. And I thought it was brilliant. And what we do with them is now help bring the voice into the equation so you can communicate and call a lot of that, or you could learn by speaking. But you literally have all the modules deployed across the government services. And I thought it was brilliant for two reasons. One is like that you embed those resources. Like in the AI world, it feels so right. That's like, as I think about young entrepreneurs building their companies, like you want, of course, engineering talent, but you want the engineering talent in sales and go to market and in finance and in like all divisions, because it can help get smarter. So that I liked it for that. And two, despite everything that's happening there, they are actually truly, from everybody worked with, leading the way with like one of the best apps that I've seen.
In places like India, there's the David and Goliath problem. when you're David, everybody loves you. When you're starting something, when you become a Goliath of a company, inherently people dislike large corporations in a strange way.
It's like almost everywhere a little bit.
Yeah. Even in America, I think there's a little bit of anti-incumbency and a rebel inside everyone. And hence, I don't think a super app works in places like that.
Why did you want to start the social media?
I believe social media is broken today. We were looking at data from a bunch of people that the really young people, 16 to 20, take Snapchat, for example. They might be logging into Snapchat the same number of times, but the amount of time they're spending on it is significantly lower. If you take Instagram, it's become almost no organic content. Like Matty will not post a picture of his, you having a drink on a weekend, nor will I, or nor will anybody, none of my friends. It seems to be a place where brands are showcasing different things and influencers are trying to sell one thing or the other, either consciously or subconsciously. To have an app which is not governed by an algorithm which kind of insinuates and incentivizes a reaction in you by triggering hate or emotion that I don't think is conducive in the long term, I think is useful. Also, I don't like the fact that a foreign nation controls the algorithm that defines the mood, nature, and evolution of the youth of my country.
And in the incentive side, do you have a take of how you change the incentives to get people to post the organic side?
I think we are thinking of a very tight funnel on the top where we control who enters the app. Like incumbent social media probably has bots engaging with you and trolls engaging with you. And I don't know how much of it is organic and how much of it is not. But the idea is to have a place where real people can connect with real people, speak about real things without, I don't think anybody can take out bias altogether, but with significantly lower bias and a place which is safe to have discourse. I might agree with you on something, I might disagree with you on something, but I don't think there is a place or an ecosystem today where you can have that conversation. So we hope to kind of create it. But I'd love, advice from you. Broad thoughts on what should a new social media have. Also, how voice plays a part in whatever the newer version of social media is.
First of all, I think the aspiration or the idea, as I agree with. I hope even the current social media platforms will get there too. I think there's a clear aspiration for them to have a little bit more of the positive sentiment rather than kind of the fear driving the algorithm. And I don't know if I don't know how this will get figured out yet, but there's definitely this element of authenticity being now the way to go. Nobody wants to read a corporate, manicured press release statements, and I think that's great. So if I were designing social media, it's how do I get more of that part would be one of the key elements. I'm thinking through both the kind of the voice aspect and do you know AirChat, by the way? Have you seen AirChat?
I have seen AirChat, yes.
They're trying to build a social media based on voice and podcasts.
Mm-hmm. We do have that moat that we already have. I think our podcast is very entrepreneur heavy. We try and tell people how to start a company, and then we try and help them on the path of starting a company. Mm-hmm. We have a grant, we give them some money, we try and build a network for them to go out and build. So it can be pivoted around a podcast, not just of mine, but of a bunch of people who have the same outcome in mind. Mm.
So maybe, kind of starting the kind of opposite way on the voice side first. I could imagine the whole interface being very different, where you you kind of, the same way you would imagine Alexa or Siri delivering you the knowledge or some version of Jarvis where like you wake up, you want to learn what happens on the social media and it kind of summarizes things that are interesting to you and you can ask questions, go deeper. Like for me, that would be like part one where social media comes with like embedded assistant that kind of keeps you up to date on what's happening and you can engage with that. Where I could like, oh, leave a comment here, or hey, engage with this part, or respond to this person. And you could like imagine both responses, both being text or voice directly. So that would be like a first, like a very shift into like the static timeline view into more of like interactive companion view. So that would be one component of this. Two, I'm hesitating because I'm thinking like, how would I incentivize the people? And that's the tricky part. But like, I do think if you record a video message from you, like that's great. Second to that, you record audio message, image, then text. So if you could have a voice as part of that, would be great. Simple version of that on social media could be like, you write a post or you write an essay, and I can listen to that in your voice and enjoy it. But that's that kind of part of how can I leave the messages and comment across would be another big one. Free, which is both on language level but on the voice level, making it straight international, translated and enjoyed across languages would be another one. But look, I think it's a very tricky one in terms of like the incentive side. Like, how do you shift that? You're probably more familiar given your work of like tokenized based or like monetary incentive based approaches. I can see this working, but I'm not a big fan. I don't like this like kind of transactional approach. Like, it should not be that. Ideally, you like engage because you're interested rather than because you think it can give you like the monetary reward. Mm-hmm. Like, it should be a secondary versus primary effect. I think like what's shown to be working. I think the verification side, I would keep the verification side. Mm-hmm. I think it's valuable for people to know that the other side is a real person. Mm-hmm. And then over time, there'll be a question of how you verify for human part. I think that's going to be another big topic. But I would have that. If I was creating social media, I would bring that as a big part of the equation. I'm still thinking about the incentive part. Like, how would I incentivize the positivity versus the negativity? And that's like almost the world got in some places calibrated this way where negativity gets more attention. Yeah. And like, how do you shift that?
It doesn't even have to be positivity. It could be neutrality.
Positivity, but then
if you're going to trigger an emotion, like say the emotion could be greed, the emotion could be to pontificate. By being here, you sound smarter. This is a bunch of people who are trying to feed curiosity. There's a bunch of other emotions that you can play with, which are more on the right. If the curve is left being negativity and right being positivity, you're more towards the right.
No, I agree. I think the key thing is you want to avoid the kind of the algorithm just rewarding what gives the highest a knee-jerk reaction.
Correct.
And it's like if you could have a platform that like inspires curiosity and learning or like different points of view in a way that doesn't lead to just like two sides screaming at each other. Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we can work on this together. You can take care of the voice part of it.
Let's do it. Yeah. I feel like there's no product in the space on the consumer side that has like AI enabled in the right way. So it's like there's no AI social product today. Yeah.
Maybe we'll catch up in London or we'll do a con call. I'll add my team and we can ideate. They have some ideas as well.
Or in India.
Yeah. You're coming in Feb, right?
Exactly. And just 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Matty, for doing this. I think we're out of time.
Thank you so much.
We'll catch up soon.
Let's catch up soon, and let's thanks. It's amazing to see how you support the ecosystem. So hopefully we can do that too. And thanks so much.
Thank you. How long are you there for?
For a week.
Yeah. Do you have time?
Yeah.
To travel?
Yeah. I'm going to be between Bengaluru and Mumbai mostly, but happy to go.
I'll take you to Goa for a day or two if you have time.
what is that? Do you have offices in Goa?
No, I have a house in Goa, which is a lot of fun, and I have dogs in Goa. It's like a beach town, which is very relaxing.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, we'll plan it.
Thank you. If you're in London, let me know. I'll take you to. I don't have dogs, but I'll take you to cool places.
Cool.